Hello everyone. Tonight we're diving into a question that'll make you rethink your bad days. Think you're tough enough to survive the Roman arena, where blood stains the sand, the crowd roars for your head, and every breath could be your last? Picture this. You're not chilling on your couch with a Bluetooth speaker bumping lo-fi beats. You're in the Colosseum, sweat-soaked, clutching a dull sword, with a guy built like a tank charging at you. Before you snuggle into your blanket and doom scroll, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. It's awesome to know who's joining us from all corners of the globe. Now close your eyes, but don't drift off yet. Let me drag you back to ancient Rome, 80 AD, when the Colosseum's still shiny and new, reeking of fresh blood and sun-baked sand. You're not in the stands, munching bread and sipping wine. You're a gladiator, and your life isn't some Hollywood flick with glistening abs and epic soundtracks. It's a brutal, exhausting grind, tougher than any deadline you've ever cursed. Let's start with your morning. The sun's not even up, but you're yanked awake by the bellow of your lanista, the guy who runs this gladiator school and has a smirk meaner than your boss piling on work at 5 p.m. No gentle alarm clock here, just the crack of a leather whip slicing the air and a growl of, "Get up, you lazy scum." You stumble off a straw mat, so hard it might as well be stone, your so-called bed. Your body screaming from yesterday's training, arms throbbing from swinging a wooden sword for hours, thighs trembling from running in the blistering heat. The air stinks of sweat, damp straw, and the faint whiff of waste from the corner of the barracks. It hits your nose like a punch, and you gag, but your stomach's so empty there's nothing to bring up except the bitter taste of bile. You glance around the dim barracks, where dozens of other gladiators are muttering curses. There's Gaius, a hulking Thracian who used to be a farmer before he was sold into slavery for debts. He's rubbing his swollen biceps, grumbling about wanting to gut the lanista. Then there's Lucius, a former bandit who got tossed into this hellhole instead of a noose. He's cackling like the world's a joke, but his bloodshot eyes betray his fear. These guys aren't your buddies, not like co-workers you DM memes to. They're survivors, and you've got to become one too, or die trying. Breakfast? Forget avocado toast and lattes. You're handed a bowl of thick barley porridge called pulse that tastes like cardboard soaked in regret. If you're lucky, there's a scrap of salted fish, but it's so rancid you'd rather starve. You squat on the dirt floor, scraping a wooden spoon against the bowl, forcing down each gluey bite to fuel yourself for the day. Outside the barracks, a crowd of curious Romans sometimes lingers, shouting taunts. "Gonna die today, gladiator?" A drunk slurs. You want to hurl your bowl at his face, but that'd earn you a lashing. So you swallow the porridge and your pride. Time for training. And this isn't some air-conditioned gym with protein shakes. The training yard is a dusty, sun-scorched patch of ground, hot as a furnace, dotted with wooden posts for targets. The lanista, perched on a platform, barks orders like an overzealous DJ. Move faster, you worthless dogs. Want to survive your first fight? You're handed a wooden sword heavy as a brick, and a shield made of brittle cowhide that smells like death. Your job? Stab, slash, and dodge for hours under a sun that feels like it's trying to melt you. Sweat streams down your face, stinging your eyes. Sand sticks to your skin, grinding like sandpaper. Every time you slack, a supervisor's whip cracks, leaving a burning welt on your back. Feel that for a second. Muscles screaming, lungs burning like you're breathing fire, and a gnawing fear clawing at your mind. You're not training to get swole. You're training to not die. Because in the arena, there's no pause button like in your favorite game. No coworker apologizing for stressing you out. Just you, your opponent, and a bloodthirsty crowd betting on who'll hit the sand first. So, how'd you end up here? Maybe you're a prisoner of war, dragged from some far-off land, like Gaul or Germania, after the Romans raze your village. Or you're a slave, sold by a master because you dared talk back. Worse yet, maybe you were a free man once, so broke you signed up as a gladiator, chasing fame and fortune. Fame? That's just the shiny lie they feed you. The truth is, every day you're alive is a miracle, and every fight is a roll of the dice with death. Mid-training, you hear the distant roar of a crowd from the Colosseum, where a miner fights, entertaining the masses. The clash of steel, the screams of gladiators, and the wild cheers blend into a chilling symphony. You glance at Gaius, wiping sweat from his brow, and mutter, "How can they cheer for this?" He shrugs, voice rough. They don't see the blood on their hands. Just the show. A shiver runs down your spine, not from the heat, but from the realization. To the Romans, you're not human. You're a product, a caged animal bred for their amusement. By noon, you get a brief break, but don't expect to scroll socials or nap. You collapse under the only tree in the yard, gulping air that's not choked with dust. A new gladiator, a scrawny kid with a face full of pimples, babbles about escaping this place, becoming a legend like Flamma, who won his freedom after dozens of fights. You want to laugh in his face, but you can't. Because you had dreams once too, before reality crushed them like the Lannister's whip. So how's it feel? Think you can handle the heat, the hunger, the constant dread? Or are you already begging for your cozy bed, your Wi-Fi, your overpriced coffee? Don't get too comfortable. Because when the sun sets, the gladiator school turns into something else. Darker, colder, and crawling with secrets even the toughest fighters won't whisper. You think your day's been rough? Wait till you see what the night has in store. The sun's dipping low now, painting the sky over Rome a bruised purple. But don't think the fading light means you get to kick back with a cold one and binge your favorite show. You're still in the gladiator school, your body aching like you've been hit by a truck, and the air's thick with the stench of sweat and despair. Your stomach's growling louder than the lions caged somewhere nearby, their roars echoing through the dusk like a grim reminder of what's waiting in the arena. You're not just a gladiator, you're prey, and the night's about to make that crystal clear. You're shuffled back to the barracks with the others, your feet dragging across the gritty sand. The Lannister's gone for now, probably off sipping wine in some cushy villa, but his enforcers, burly ex-gladiators with scars like road maps, keep watch. One of them, a grizzled bastard named Quintus, shoves you forward when you lag. "Move, worm," he snarls, his breath reeking of cheap wine and garlic. You stumble, catching yourself on the rough wooden wall of the barracks, splinters biting into your palm. The pain's sharp, but you've learned to swallow it. Showing weakness here is like waving a red flag in front of a bull. Inside, the barracks is a claustrophobic hellhole. The air's stale, heavy with the stink of unwashed bodies and the faint metallic tang of blood from yesterday's accidents during training. Torches flicker on the walls, casting jagged shadows that dance like demons. You find your spot, a corner with a threadbare blanket and a straw mat that's more dirt than straw. You'd kill for a real bed, one with pillows and a mattress that doesn't feel like a slab of granite. But wishes don't get you far in Rome. You sink down, every joint screaming, and try to ignore the gnawing hunger in your gut. Dinner's coming. But dinner here makes your sad desk lunch look like a Michelin star feast. The meal arrives in dented bronze bowls, carried by a scrawny slave boy who looks like he hasn't slept in a year. It's more of that cursed pulse, the barley porridge that haunts your nightmares, mixed with a few stringy vegetables that might have been carrots in a past life. You scoop it up with your fingers. Spoons are a luxury for the lucky few, and force it down. It's cold, gritty, and tastes like defeat, but you eat because you need the strength. Across from you, Lucius, the bandit turned gladiator, wolfs down like it's his last meal. Maybe he knows something you don't. "Eat fast," he mutters, wiping his mouth with a grimy hand. Nights when the real fights start. You frown, not sure what he means, but there's no time to ask. The barracks is buzzing with low voices, the kind of tense chatter you'd hear in a locker room before a big game. Except here, the stakes aren't a trophy. They're your life. Gaius, the Thracian, is sharpening a tiny shard of flint he's hidden in his tunic, his eyes darting to the door. You catch his gaze, and he quickly tucks the flint away. For shaving, He lies, but you're not stupid. That flint's for trouble, and trouble in the barracks is a death sentence. Night falls, and the temperature plummets. Rome's days are scorching, but its nights are cold enough to make your bones ache. You wrap your thin blanket around your shoulders, but it's about as useful as a paper towel in a storm. The torches burn low, and the barracks grows darker, the shadows thicker. You hear rustling, whispered arguments, and the occasional sob from someone who's cracked under the pressure. You get it. Every day here feels like a lifetime, and the weight of it all presses on your chest like a boulder. You're not just fighting opponents in the arena. You're fighting the voice in your head that says you won't make it. Then it starts, the night fights Lucius warned about. Not the kind with swords and shields, but the kind that happen in the dark, where no one's watching. Two gladiators in the far corner start arguing over a stolen scrap of bread. Voices rise, sharp and desperate, until one shoves the other. The sound of flesh hitting flesh cuts through the silence, followed by a sickening crack. You don't look, but you hear the grunts, the scuffle, the wet thud of a body hitting the floor. Quintus and the other enforcers storm in, their whips cracking like thunder. The fight's over in seconds, but the loser's dragged out, blood trailing behind him. You don't know if he's alive, and you don't ask. Asking questions here gets you noticed, and noticed is the last thing you want to be. You pull your blanket tighter, trying to block out the world. But sleep's a distant dream. Your mind's racing, replaying every moment of the day, the whip, the sword, the Lannister's sneer. You think about home, wherever that was. Maybe a village in Gaul, with rolling hills and a mother who sang while she cooked. Maybe a cramped apartment in Rome's slums, where you hustled for coins before hunger drove you to this. The memories are fuzzy now, like a song you can't quite recall, but they hurt all the same. You wonder if anyone out there still thinks about you, or if you're already a ghost. A low growl pulls you back to reality. It's not a lion this time. It's Gaius, muttering in his sleep, his fists clenched like he's fighting invisible enemies. You watch him for a moment, wondering what he dreams of. Freedom? Revenge? Or just a day without pain? You envy his ability to sleep at all. Your own eyes burn with exhaustion, but every creak of the barracks, every distant scream from a city, keeps you on edge. Rome never sleeps, and neither do you. Somewhere in the night, you hear a different sound, soft, almost tender. It's the scrawny slave boy from earlier, humming a tune as he sweeps the floor. He's barely a teenager, his ribs visible through his tattered tunic, but there's a strange calm in his eyes. You catch his gaze, and he offers a small nod, like your comrades in this miserable existence. "What's your name?" you whisper, surprising yourself. He hesitates, then murmurs, "Titus." You nod back, a silent pact formed in the dark. Titus might be the closest thing you have to a friend here, and that thought is both comforting and terrifying. The night drags on, and you start to notice the rituals of the barracks. Some gladiators pray to their gods, clutching tiny amulets carved from bone or stone. Others trade stories of their fights, their voices low but proud, as if bragging about scars makes them less heavy. You don't join in. You're too busy listening to the city outside, the clatter of carts, the shouts of drunks, the occasional wail of someone who's crossed the wrong person. Rome's a beast, and you're trapped in its belly. As the hours crawl by, you feel the weight of what's coming. Tomorrow's another day of training, another step closer to your first fight in the arena. You've heard the stories, gladiators who won the crowd's love, who walked away free. But you've also heard the other stories, the ones whispered in the dark. Men torn apart by beasts. Men begging for mercy as the crowd chants for death. You wonder what kind you'll be, the hero or the corpse. Your thoughts are interrupted by a sudden commotion. A new gladiator's been brought in, dragged through the barracks by Quintus. He's young, wiry, with wild eyes and a fresh brand on his arm, the mark of a slave. He's thrashing, cursing in a language you don't understand, until Quintus slams him against the wall. "Quiet, or you'll meet the gods tonight," Quintus growls. The new guy goes limp, but his eyes burn with defiance. You recognize that look. You had it once, too. The barracks settles back into its uneasy rhythm, but the new guy's arrival has shifted something. You feel the tension, the unspoken hierarchy flexing like a muscle. Every new gladiator is a threat, a rival, another body to step over on your way to survival. You hate that you're thinking this way, but you can't help it. This place is turning you into something you don't recognize. And the worst part? You're not sure you mind. The first light of dawn creeps through the cracks in the walls, and you realize you haven't slept. Your body's heavy, your mind foggy, but there's no time to wallow. The Lanista's voice will rip through the barracks soon, and another day of pain will begin. You glance at Titus, who's still sweeping, his humming unbroken. How does he do it? How does he find peace in this hell? You want to ask, but the words stick in your throat. Dawn breaks over Rome, a thin sliver of gray light sneaking through the barracks' cracked walls. But it's not the kind of morning that makes you want to leap out of bed and seize the day. Your eyes are gritty. Your body feels like it's been run over by a chariot, and the air's already thick with a sour stench of sweat and stale porridge. You didn't sleep, not really. The night's whispers, scuffles, and that new gladiator's defiant curses kept you on edge, your mind spinning like a hamster wheel. You're a gladiator, and every sunrise is just another tick on the countdown to the arena. No coffee run, no motivational playlist, just a promise of pain and the faint hope you'll live to see another dawn. You're still curled on your straw mat, clutching your threadbare blanket like it's a lifeline, when the Lanista's voice rips through the barracks. "Up, you filthy dogs," he bellows, his whip cracking for emphasis. This sounds like a gunshot, jolting you upright. Your muscles scream as you move, each joint grinding like rusted gears. You glance at Gaius, who's already on his feet, his face set in a grim scowl. Lucius is slower, muttering curses as he rubs his bloodshot eyes. The new guy, the wiry one with the fresh brand, is silent, his back against the wall, watching everyone like a cornered wolf. You don't know his name yet, but his eyes say he's trouble. Or maybe he's just scared. Hard to tell the difference here. You stumble outside, the cold morning air slapping your face. The training yard's waiting, its sand already warming under the rising sun. But first, you're herded toward a wooden trough filled with murky water. This is your bath. No hot shower, no fancy soap that smells like lavender. You splash the gritty water on your face, wincing as it stings the cuts on your hands. It smells like metal and earth, and you're pretty sure something's floating in it, but you don't look too closely. Titus, the slave boy, is nearby, hauling buckets to refill the trough. He catches your eye and offers that same quiet nod, his humming barely audible over the grunts and curses of the others. You nod back, a flicker of warmth in this cold world. But there's no time to linger. Breakfast is the same old pulse, slapped into your bowl by a surly cook who looks like he'd rather spit in it than serve you. You squat in the dirt, forcing down the gluey mess. It's tasteless, but you chew slowly, savoring the few bits of onion that somehow made it in. Lucius, sitting cross-legged beside you, smirks. Fancy feast, eh? Bet you're missing your mama's cooking. You snort, but the mention of home stings. You try to picture it, a hearth, warm bread, a voice calling your name, but it's like chasing smoke. Gaius doesn't join the banter. He's staring at the horizon, his jaw tight, like he's already fighting the day in his head. The Lanista's whistle cuts through the chatter, and you're back in the training yard. The sun's climbing now, turning the sand into a skillet. Your wooden sword feels heavier today, the grip slick with sweat before you even start. The Lanista's up on his platform, his beady eyes scanning for weakness. "Today you learn to bleed," he shouts, like it's a motivational speech. You're paired with the new guy who's been given a battered shield and a sword that looks like it's seen better days. He doesn't speak, just glares, his stance shaky but defiant. You don't want to hurt him, but you don't want to be the one bleeding either. The drill's simple but brutal. Attack, defend, Repeat. You swing, he blocks, the impact jarring your arm like you've hit a wall. He's fast, dodging your next strike with a grunt, but his footwork's sloppy. You catch his shield with a hard thrust, and he stumbles, sand flying. Focus, the Lanista screams, and you feel the eyes of the other gladiators on you, sizing you up. This isn't just training, it's a test. Every move you make is a message. I'm not the weak link. The new guy recovers, his teeth bared, and swings wildly. You duck, feeling the air whistle over your head. Your heart's pounding, not just from the effort, but from the realization that this kid could kill you if he lands a lucky hit. Hours pass, the sun hammering down, turning your skin raw and your throat dry as dust. You're given a brief break, collapsing in the shade of a crumbling wall. Your hands are blistered, your shoulders throbbing, and the welts from yesterday's whip are stinging under your sweat-soaked tunic. Titus passes by, carrying a water jug, and slips you an extra ladle. Don't tell, he whispers, his eyes darting to Quintus, the enforcer, who's lounging nearby. You gulp the water, warm and tasting of clay, but it's the best thing you've had all day. Thanks, you mutter, and Titus shrugs like it's nothing. But it's not nothing. In this place, a sip of water is a rebellion, a reminder that you're still human. Training resumes, and the Lanista's in a foul mood. He's decided today's the day to toughen you up. You're split into pairs again, but this time, it's not just drills. It's a mock fight, and the rules are simple. Don't die, but don't hold back. You're up against Gaius, and the look in his eyes says he's not playing. He's a Thracian, trained to fight with a curved Sicca sword. And even with a wooden one, he's lethal. You grip your shield, your palm slick, and try to remember the moves you've practiced. The crowd of gladiators forms a loose circle, their shouts blending with the Lanista's barking. Show me blood, he roars, and you praise joking. Gaius lunges, his sword a blur. You block, but the force sends you staggering. Sand grits under your sandals, throwing you off balance. He's relentless, striking high, then low, his breath coming in sharp grunts. You manage a counterattack, your sword grazing his arm, but he doesn't flinch. Instead, he slams his shield into your chest, knocking the air out of you. You hit the ground hard, tasting blood and dust. The crowd jeers, and you hear Lucius laugh, "Nice one, farm boy." You scramble up, your vision swimming, and block Gaius's next blow just in time. The Lanista's watching, his lips curled in a cruel smile. "Weak," he spits. "You'll be lion food." The fight ends when Gaius lands a solid hit to your shoulder, the wood cracking against bone. You drop to one knee, gasping, but he doesn't press the attack. He steps back, his chest heaving, and mutters, "Get better, or you're dead." You nod, too winded to speak, and drag yourself to the side. The Lanista's already moved on, berating another pair, but Quintus is watching you, his whip coiled like a snake. You've got a bruise blooming on your shoulder, and your pride's taken a worse beating, but you're alive. That's something. As the day drags on, you notice the hierarchy in the yard. Gaius is respected, his strength a shield against the enforcer's worst. Lucius survives by charm, his quick tongue deflecting trouble. The new guy, though he's a wild card. He's fast, but reckless, and the others are already whispering about him. He'll get himself killed, Lucius says, spitting into the sand. Or one of us. You don't reply, but you feel the truth of it. Every gladiator's a threat, a rival, a potential corpse you'll have to step over. By late afternoon, you're spent, your body a map of aches and bruises. The Lanista finally calls a halt, and you're herded back to the barracks for rest. But rest is a joke. You're given a strip of stale bread and a cup of watered-down wine that tastes like vinegar. You sit with Titus, who's mending a torn sandal, his fingers deft despite the calluses. "You fought well," he says quietly, and you almost laugh. "Well, you got pummeled." But his words are earnest, and you realize he's rooting for you in his own small way. You want to ask about his life, how he ended up here, why he hums, but the barracks is no place for deep talks. The sun's setting now, and the air's growing cool. You wrap your blanket around you, trying to ignore the ache in your shoulder. The barracks is quieter tonight, the new guy's arrival still rippling through the group. You hear snippets of conversation, tales of the arena, of gladiators who won freedom, of others who fed the beasts. You try to block it out, but the stories seep into your bones. You're not just fighting for survival. You're fighting to keep the spark of who you are, and every day it's harder to hold on. The sky over Rome is a dull smear of orange and gray as the day bleeds into evening. But there's no cozy sunset vibe here. You're in the gladiator barracks, your body a patchwork of bruises, your shoulder throbbing from Gaius's wooden sword, and the air thick with a sour tang of sweat and cheap wine. You're slumped against the rough wall, your blanket barely keeping the chill at bay, and every creak of the barracks feels like a warning. You're not just a gladiator, you're a man on borrowed time, and tonight, the weight of that truth is heavier than ever. You're chewing on a crust of stale bread, the kind that crumbles like ash in your mouth when the Lanista's whistle pierces the dusk. You flinch, your body conditioned to dread that sound. Line up, scum. Quintus, the enforcer, barks, his whip coiled but ready. You drag yourself to your feet, your legs wobbly, and join the others in a ragged row outside. The new guy's there, his branded arms still raw, his eyes darting like he's planning an escape or a fight. Lucius is slouched, smirking as usual, but Gaius stands tall, his face unreadable. Titus lingers at the edge, sweeping the dirt, his humming a faint thread of calm in the chaos. This isn't training, though. The Lanista's got something else in mind, and the glint in his eye says it's not good. He paces before you, his tunic pristine compared to your filthy rags, and announces the Emperor's games are coming. You lot better impress, or you're feeding the lions. Your stomach twists. The Colosseum's grand opening is still the talk of Rome, and Emperor Titus wants blood to keep the masses happy. You've heard the stories, hundreds of gladiators, beasts, and prisoners slaughtered to christen the arena. Now, you're part of the sequel. The Lanista's not done. Tonight, you prove your worth, he sneers. A little test. He gestures to a cart rolling into the yard, loaded with battered armor and weapons, not the wooden ones, but real steel, dull and rusted, but sharp enough to kill. Your heart skips. This isn't a drill. It's a spectacle, a private show for some wealthy patron who's paid to watch you bleed. You glance at the others. Lucius's smirk is gone. Gaius's jaw tightens. The new guy's breathing hard, his fists clenched. You're handed a dented helmet, the metal cold and heavy, smelling of rust and old blood. The inside's lined with grime, and it chafes your scalp as you pull it on. Your armor's a mismatched set of leather and bronze, cracked and ill-fitting, digging into your ribs. The sword they give you is short, its blade pitted, but deadly. You test its weight, your blistered hands protesting, and feel a sick thrill. This is what you've been training for, but the reality hits like a punch. Tonight, you might have to kill. The arena is a cleared patch of the training yard, surrounded by torches that cast flickering shadows. A dozen spectators, rich Romans in fine tunics, their faces flushed with wine, lounge on cushioned seats, laughing like they're at a comedy show. One, a fat man with a gold chain, claps his hands. Make it quick, Lanista. I've got a banquet to attend. You want to spit in his face, but you're herded into the circle, the sand cold under your sandals. The crowd's small, but their eyes are hungry, and you feel like a dog in a pit, baited for their amusement. You're paired with the new guy who's been given a net and trident, marking him as a retiarius, the gladiator type that fights like a fisherman. You're a Murmillo, with your heavy shield and short sword built for brute force. He's fast, you're strong, and only one of you needs to walk away. The Lanista's rules are simple. Fight until one yields or can't stand. Death isn't required, but the glint in his eye says it's encouraged. The spectators cheer as you face off, their voices a dull roar in your ears. The new guy moves first, his trident jabbing low. You raise your shield, the impact rattling your arm. He's quick, dancing out of reach, his net swinging like a whip. You lunge, your sword grazing his arm, drawing a thin line of blood. He hisses, but doesn't stop, his eyes wild with fear and fury. The crowd roars, and you hear the fat man shout, "Finish him." Your stomach churns. This kid's no friend, but he's like you, trapped, fighting for scraps of survival. You don't want his blood on your hands, but the Lanista's watching, and mercy's a luxury you can't afford. The fight's a blur of steel and sand. He catches your leg with his net, yanking you off balance. You hit the ground, rolling just as his trident stabs the dirt where your head was. The crowd's on its feet, screaming. You scramble up, your shield raised, and charge, slamming into him with all your weight. He staggers, his trident dropping, and you pin him to the ground, your sword at his throat. His eyes meet yours, wide and pleading, and for a moment, you're not in Rome. You're just two scared men, fighting a war neither of you chose. Yield, you shout, your voice hoarse. He nods, gasping, and you step back, your chest heaving. The crowd boos disappointed, but the Lanista waves you off. Enough, he grunts. Clearly annoyed, there's no corpse for his patrons. You're alive, he's alive, but the victory feels hollow. The new guy's dragged away, blood dripping from his arm, and you wonder if he'll hate you now or thank you. The spectators leave, their laughter fading into the night, and you're left in the yard, your armor heavy with sweat and guilt. Quintus shoves you toward the barracks, muttering, "Lucky tonight, worm." You don't feel lucky. You feel like a pawn in a game you'll never win. Back inside, you strip off the armor, your skin raw where it rubbed. The barracks is quiet, the others avoiding your gaze. Gaius is cleaning his sword, his movements slow, deliberate. Lucius, for once, has nothing snarky to say. The new guy's in a corner, his arm bandaged by Titus, who's whispering something you can't hear. You collapse onto your mat, the straw poking through your tunic. Your shoulders screaming, your hands are shaking, and the taste of blood lingers in your mouth, though you're not sure if it's yours. You close your eyes, trying to shut out the world, but the fight replays in your head, the tridents glint, the nets pull, the kid's terrified eyes. You wonder what his name is, what his story is. Did he have a family? A home? Or is he just another ghost in the making, like you? The barracks settles into its nightly rhythm. Whispers, prayers, the occasional sob. You hear Gaius muttering to his gods, clutching a small stone carved with a symbol you don't recognize. Lucius is humming a tune, off-key but defiant. Titus is still with the new guy, his hands gentle as he ties the bandage. You watch them, a strange ache in your chest. Titus catches your eye and offers that nod again, but this time it feels heavier, like he knows what you're carrying. You think about the arena, the real one, waiting beyond these walls. Tonight was just a taste, a warm-up for the Colosseum's blood-soaked stage. You've heard the tales, gladiators who became legends, who won the crowd's love and walked free. But you've also heard the screams, carried on the wind from the arena. And you know the truth, for every hero, there are a dozen corpses. You wonder what you'll be when your time comes. Will you fight like Gaius, stoic and unyielding? Crack like Lucius, hiding fear behind jokes? Or will you be like the new guy, all fire and no plan, burning out fast? The torches burn low, casting long shadows that twist like specters. You pull your blanket tighter, but it's no shield against the cold or the dread. Your mind drifts to the spectators, their faces lit with glee as you fought. To them, you're not a man. You're a show, a bet, a fleeting thrill before they stumble back to their villas. You hate them, but you hate yourself more for surviving, for playing their game. The thought makes your fists clench, your nails biting into your palms. A soft sound pulls you back, Titus, humming as he sweeps the floor, his broom scraping the dirt. He's a slave, lower than you, yet he carries himself like he's free. You want to ask how, but the words won't come. Instead, you lie there listening to his tune, letting it anchor you. The night stretches on, Rome's chaos a dull hum outside. You're alive for now, but the arena's shadow is growing, and it's got claws. The night's grip on the barracks is loosening, but sleep's a cruel tease, slipping through your fingers like sand. You're sprawled on your straw mat, the cold seeping into your bones, your shoulder pulsing with pain from yesterday's mock fight. The air's heavy with the stink of sweat, blood, and the faint rot of the damp walls, and every creak of the wooden beams feels like a countdown. You're a gladiator, and the dawn's not a fresh start. It's just another shove toward the Colosseum's jaws. You close your eyes trying to steal a moment of peace, but the memory of the new guy's terrified face, your sword at his throat, burns behind your lids. You spared him, but for what? Another fight? Another night like this? A sharp whistle slices through the darkness, and your body jerks upright before your mind catches up. The Lanista's voice follows a guttural roar. Move, you lazy rats. Quintus and his whip are already prowling, their shadows looming in the torchlight. You stumble to your feet, your legs heavy, your mouth dry as dust. The barracks is a blur of motion. Gaius pulling on his tunic, Lucius muttering curses, the new guy sitting silently, his bandaged arm cradled like a broken wing. Titus is there too, sweeping the floor, his humming unbroken despite the chaos. You catch his eye, and he gives you that quiet nod, a lifeline you're starting to cling to. Outside, the air's crisp. The sky is sickly gray that promises another brutal day. You're herded to the trough again, splashing tepid water on your face. It's gritty, tasting of iron, and you wince as it stings the cuts on your knuckles. The others are splashing too, their grunts and curses a grim chorus. Lucius flicks water at you, smirking. Look alive, hero. Can't die with a dirty face. You ignore him, but his words stick. Hero. You're no hero. You're just a man trying not to break. Breakfast is the same cursed pulse, slopped into your bowl with a sneer from the cook. You squat in the dirt, forcing it down, the barley sticking in your throat like glue. Gaius eats in silence, his eyes fixed on the horizon, like he's searching for something he lost. The new guy's picking at his food, his face pale, and you wonder if he's still shaken from last night. You want to say something, maybe you'll get through this, but the words feel like a lie. Instead, you focus on the pulse, chewing until your jaw aches. Titus passes by, hauling a sack of grain, and slips you a small, hard apple. Hide it, he whispers, his eyes darting to Quintus. You tuck it into your tunic, the small act of kindness a spark in the dark. The Lanista's whistle calls you to the training yard, where the sand's already warming under the rising sun. Today's different, though. The cart from last night is back, loaded with real weapons and armor, not the wooden toys you've been using. Your stomach drops. The Emperor's games are closer than you thought, and the Lanista's done playing. You fight like men today, he snarls, pacing like a wolf. Or you die like dogs. You're handed the same dented helmet and cracked armor from last night, the leather straps digging into your bruised skin. The sword's heavier too. Its edge dull, but real enough to split bone. You test its balance, your hands trembling, and feel the weight of what's coming. You're paired with Lucius this time, his gladius gleaming in the morning light. He's a secutor, built for speed and precision, and his smirk says he's ready to make you look like a fool. You're still a Murmillo, your heavy shield a familiar burden. The Lanista's rules are brutal. Fight until one yields, no mercy, no holding back. The yard's been marked with a chalk circle, a poor man's arena, and a small crowd of the Lanista's men gathers, their eyes glinting with cruel amusement. Quintus is there, his whip ready, and you swear he's betting on who'll bleed first. Lucius moves like lightning, his sword darting high. You block, the impact jarring your arm, and counter with a low thrust. He dances back, laughing. Slow, friend. The lions will eat you alive. The taunt stings, but you grit your teeth and press forward, your shield raised. The fight's a brutal dance, steel clashing, sand flying, your breath coming in ragged gasps. Lucius is relentless. his blade nicking your arm, a shallow cut that burns like fire. You roar, slamming your shield into him. And he stumbles, his smirk faltering. The crowd jeers, and you seize the moment, your sword arcing toward his chest. He twists, barely dodging, and yields with a raised hand, panting. "Enough, you bastard," he gasps, but there's a grudging respect in his eyes. The Lannistas, not impressed. "Pathetic," he spits, waving you off. You're alive, but the cut on your arm is bleeding, and your pride's taken another hit. Lucius claps your shoulder as you limp away, muttering, "Not bad. Don't get cocky." You nod, too winded to reply, and collapse in the shade, your armor heavy with sweat. Titus is there, offering a rag to wrap your arm. "You're learning," he says softly, and you want to laugh. Learning? You're just surviving, one bloody day at a time. The training drags on, the sun climbing higher, turning the yard into a furnace. You're rotated through drills, sparring, running, lifting stones until your muscles scream. The Lannista's pushing you harder now, his shouts laced with urgency. The Emperor's games are a looming shadow, and you're starting to understand what they mean. Not just fights, but spectacles, beasts, executions, battles staged to thrill the mob. You've heard whispers of venators, hunters who face lions and bears, and Naumachii, mock naval battles where men drown for sport. You wonder if you'll face a man or a beast, and which would be worse. By midday, you're spent, your body a map of pain. The Lannista calls a break, and you're given a cup of sour wine and a strip of dried meat that's tough as leather. You sit with Gaius, who's quieter than usual, his hands tracing the scars on his knuckles. "You ever think about running?" you ask, your voice low. He snorts, not looking up. "Run where?" "The Empire's got eyes everywhere. You be back in chains before sundown." His words are a gut punch, but you know he's right. Freedom's a dream, and dreams don't survive here. The afternoon brings a new horror, beast training. The Lannistas brought in a caged wolf, its fur matted, its eyes wild with hunger. "Learn its moves," he says, as if it's that simple. You're not fighting it yet, but you're forced to watch as a trainer prods it with a spear, making it snarl and lunge. The sound's like thunder, and you feel it in your chest. The wolf's teeth gleam, and you imagine them tearing into you, the crowd cheering as you scream. Gaius is unfazed, his eyes cold, but the new guy's shaking, his trident clutched like a talisman. Lucius leans over, whispering, "Bet he wets himself first." You don't laugh. You're too busy fighting the urge to run. As evening falls, you're herded back to the barracks, your body screaming for rest. Dinner's a thin stew, mostly water, with a few beans floating like sad islands. You eat in silence, the weight of the day pressing on you. Titus is nearby, mending a torn tunic, his humming a soft anchor. You want to talk to him, to ask how he keeps going, but the barracks is no place for that. Instead, you watch the others. Gaius is praying again, his stone amulet clutched tight. Lucius is telling a story about a fight he won, his voice loud but hollow. The new guy's alone, staring at the wall, and you wonder if he's already given up. The torches burn low, casting long shadows that twist like ghosts. You lie on your mat, your arms stinging, your mind racing. The wolf's snarl echoes in your head, mingling with the Lannista shouts and the crowd's cheers from last night. You think about the arena, the real one, where the sand's soaked with blood and the gods decide your fate. You wonder if you'll be ready, if you'll ever be ready. The thought makes your chest tight, your breath shallow. A soft sound breaks your spiral. Titus, sweeping again, his broom scraping the dirt. He's a slave, less than you, yet he carries himself like he's untouchable. You want to ask his secret, but you're too tired, too broken. Instead, you listen to his humming, letting it pull you toward something like calm. The night stretches on, Rome's chaos a distant hum. You're alive, but the arena's waiting, and it's got teeth. So what's it like, staring down a wolf, and knowing it's just the start? Think you could keep your nerve, keep fighting, keep breathing? Or are you already dreaming of your soft bed, your Netflix queue. Your life where the worst monster is a Monday morning? Don't get too comfortable. The gods are cruel, and they're just getting started. The barracks is a tomb at this hour, the kind of quiet that presses on your chest and makes every breath feel stolen. You're sprawled on your straw mat, the coarse blanket doing little to fend off the pre-dawn chill. Your arms still stinging from Lucius's blade. The makeshift bandage Titus gave you stiff with dried blood. The air's thick with a rancid mix of sweat, mold, and the faint coppery tang of yesterday's wounds. You haven't slept, not really. The wolf snarl from the training yard haunts you, its yellow eyes burning in your mind, and the Lannista's promise of the Emperor's games feels like a noose tightening. You're a gladiator, and every moment you're not fighting, you're waiting to fight, your life a thin thread stretched over a pit of blades. A low groan from the barracks pulls you back, someone's nightmare, or maybe just hunger. You shift, wincing as your bruised shoulder protests, and glance around. Gaius is a dark shape in the corner, his breathing steady, but his fists clenched, even in sleep. Lucius is sprawled like he owns the place, snoring softly, his bravado unshaken by the day's brutality. The new guy, whose name you still don't know, is curled up, his bandaged arm tucked close, his face pale in the faint torchlight. Titus is there too, a shadow moving silently, stacking bowls for the morning meal. His humming, soft as ever, weaves through the darkness, and you wonder how he finds the strength to keep going when the rest of you are barely holding on. The Lannista's whistle rips through the stillness, a sound you've come to hate more than anything. Up, you worthless dogs. Quintus's voice follows, his whip cracking like a warning shot. You drag yourself upright, every muscle screaming, your head foggy with exhaustion. The barracks stirs, grunts, curses, the shuffle of feet on dirt. You pull on your tattered tunic, the fabric stiff with sweat and grime, and stumble outside. The sky's a bruised purple, the air cold enough to bite your skin. Titus is already at the trough, hauling water, his thin frame bent under the weight. He catches your eye and nods, that quiet gesture a small anchor in the storm. You splash water on your face, the icy shock jarring you awake. It's murky, tasting of earth and metal, and it stings the cut on your arm. The others are there too, splashing and muttering. Lucius elbows you, grinning. Ready to dance with the wolf today, hero? You grunt, not in the mood for his jabs, but his words linger. The wolf, the arena, the games. They're all closing in, and you're not sure you're ready for any of it. Breakfast is the usual misery, pulse, gray and lumpy, slapped into your bowl by the cook's gnarled hands. You squat in the dirt, forcing it down, the barley sticking like paste in your throat. Gaius eats mechanically, his eyes distant, like he's already in the arena. The new guy's barely touching his hands shaking, and you wonder if he's cracking. You want to say something, anything, but what's the point? Words don't change the sand, the steel, the blood. Titus passes by, carrying a sack of flour, and slips you another apple, smaller than yesterday's. For strength, he whispers, his eyes darting to Quintus. You hide it in your tunic, the gesture warming you more than the fruit itself. The training yard's waiting, the sand already warm under the rising sun. The Lannista's there, his face twisted in a permanent scowl, and the cart of real weapons is back, its contents gleaming dully in the light. Your heart sinks. No wooden swords today. The games are near, the Lannister growls, pacing like a predator. You fight like gladiators, or you die like slaves. You're handed your Murmillo gear, dented helmet, cracked armor, heavy shield, and a short sword with a chipped edge. The leather straps bite into your skin, the helmet's grime rubbing your scalp raw. You feel like a beast being dressed for slaughter, and the thought makes your stomach churn. Today's training is a gauntlet, a brutal test of endurance and skill. You're not just sparring. You're running drills with live steel, dodging spears thrown by the Lannista's men, and facing mock beasts made of straw and wood. The wolf from yesterday is back, caged but snarling, its presence a constant threat. You're paired with Gaius first, his Thracian Sicca a wicked curve of steel. He's all business, his strikes precise and brutal, and you struggle to keep up. Your shield takes a beating, the wood splintering under his blows, and your arms screaming by the time the lanista calls a halt. Weak, he spits, but Gaius gives you a nod, a rare sign you didn't completely embarrass yourself. Next is a sprint across the yard, dodging weighted nets thrown by Quintus and his crew. You're not fast enough, and a net catches your legs, sending you sprawling. The sand scrapes your knees raw, and Quintus's laughter burns worse than the fall. Move, worm, he shouts, his whip cracking inches from your back. You scramble up, your chest heaving, and finish the run, your lungs burning like you've swallowed fire. The others aren't faring much better. Lucius is cursing, the new guy's limping, and even Gaius is sweating hard. The worst comes last, a mock beast fight. The straw lion is crude, but the Lanista's men wield it like it's alive, swinging wooden claws and roaring to unnerve you. You're armed with a spear, its shaft slippery with sweat, and told to kill the beast. The crowd of enforcers jeers, their voices blending with the wolf snarls. You thrust, your spear piercing the straw, but a claw catches your side, knocking you down. The pain's sharp, and you taste blood, but you roll away, stabbing again. The lion falls, and the lanista grunts, unimpressed. You'll need more than that for the real ones, he says, and you feel the wolf's eyes on you, promising a worse fate. By midday, you're a wreck, your body a canvas of bruises and cuts. The lanista calls a break, and you collapse in the shade, your armor heavy with sweat and dust. Titus brings water, his hand steady as he pours you a ladle. You're still here, he says, his voice low. You nod, too tired to speak, and gulp the warm, clay-tasting water. Lucius flops beside you, panting. Think the Emperor's got a soft spot for us, he jokes, but his eyes are hollow. Gaius is silent, sharpening his Sicca with a stone, his focus unnerving. The new guy's off by himself, staring at the wolf's cage, and you wonder what's breaking him faster, the fear or the fight. The afternoons, no kinder. You're back in the gauntlet, this time facing a series of opponents in quick succession. Lucius is first, his speed a nightmare, his gladius darting like a snake. You block, counter, and manage a grazing hit, but he's too fast, and you're left gasping. The new guy's next, his trident and net clumsy, but dangerous. You dodge his wild swings, pinning him with your shield, and he yields, his face flushed with shame. Gaius is last, and he's a wall of strength, his Sicca forcing you back until you're on your knees, your sword raised in surrender. He doesn't gloat, just helps you up, his grip firm, but not cruel. As the sun dips low, you're spent, your body screaming for mercy. The lanista's final task is a run through the yard, carrying a sack of stones that feels like a boulder. Your legs buckle, but you keep going, driven by the whip's threat and the arena's shadow. When it's over, you're given a cup of sour wine and a scrap of bread, and you limp back to the barracks, your mind numb. Titus is there, mending a sandal, his humming a faint lifeline. You want to thank him, to ask how he survives this hell, but you're too broken to speak. The barracks is quieter tonight, the weight of the games pressing on everyone. Gaius is praying, his stone amulet clutched tight. Lucius is silent, his jokes gone. The new guy's muttering in his native tongue, a language you don't know, and you wonder if he's cursing you for last night's fight. You lie on your mat, the straw poking through your tunic, and try to shut out the world. The wolf's snarl echoes in your head, mingling with the lanista shouts and the crowd's cheers. You think about the Colosseum, its sand waiting to drink your blood, and wonder if you'll ever see anything else. Titus's humming pulls you back, a soft thread in the dark. He's sweeping, his broom scraping the dirt, and you watch him, marveling at his calm. He's a slave, yet he's freer than you, unbroken by this place. You want to ask his secret, but the words stick. Instead, you close your eyes, letting his tune carry you toward something like peace. The night's long, Rome's chaos a distant hum, but you're alive, for now. The barracks is a black void, the kind of dark that swallows hope and spits out dread. You're on your straw mat, the coarse blanket barely a shield against the biting cold. Your body's a map of pain, your arm throbbing from Lucius's cut, your legs aching from hauling stones, your mind frayed from the wolf's snarl, and the Lannista's relentless drills. The air's heavy with the stench of sweat, blood, and the sour rot of despair, and every rustle in the shadows feels like a threat. You're a gladiator, and sleep's a luxury you can't afford, not when the Colosseum's shadow looms closer, its jaws wide and waiting. You're drifting in that hazy space between exhaustion and fear when a low moan cuts through the silence, someone's nightmare, or maybe just the weight of this place breaking them. You shift, wincing as your bruises protest, and glance around. Gaius is a hulking shadow, his breathing uneven, his stone amulet clutched like a lifeline. Lucius is quiet for once, his usual bravado buried under the day's grind. The new guy, still nameless to you, is curled up, his bandaged arm tucked close, his face a mask of silent terror. Titus is there too, a faint outline in the torchlight, stacking firewood with that same steady calm. His humming, soft and unbroken, weaves through the darkness, and you cling to it, a thread of humanity in this hell. The Lannista's whistle shreds the quiet, a sound that's become your personal demon. Up, you filthy swine. Quintus's voice follows, his whip cracking like a thunderclap. You lurch upright, your muscles screaming, your head pounding with exhaustion. The barrack stirs, grunts, curses, the shuffle of feet on dirt. You pull on your tattered tunic, the fabric stiff with grime, and stumble outside. The sky's a sickly gray, the air sharp with the promise of another brutal day. Titus is at the trough, hauling water, his thin frame bent but unyielding. He catches your eye and nods, that quiet gesture a small spark in the gloom. You splash water on your face, the cold biting your skin, the gritty liquid stinging your cuts. It tastes of rust and earth, and you grimace but keep going. The others are splashing too, their voices low and bitter. Lucius nudges you, his smirk half-hearted. Ready to meet the gods today, friend? You grunt, too tired for his games, but his words stick. The gods, the arena, the games, they're all converging, and you're caught in the middle, a pawn in Rome's blood-soaked chessboard. Breakfast is the same grim ritual, pulse, thick and tasteless, slopped into your bowl by the cook's calloused hands. You squat in the dirt, forcing it down, the barley clogging your throat like wet cement. Gaius eats in silence, his eyes fixed on some distant point, like he's already fighting the battles to come. The new guy's barely eating, his hands trembling, his face pale as death. You want to say something, to offer a shred of hope, but what can you say? You're all drowning in the same sea. Titus passes by, carrying a basket of bread, and slips you a small, bruised figure. Keep it hidden, he whispers, his eyes flicking to Quintus. You tuck it into your tunic, the small act of kindness a flicker of light in the dark. The training yard's waiting, the sand already warm under the rising sun. The Lannista's there, his face a storm cloud, and the cart of weapons is back, its steel glinting with menace. Your stomach twists. The Emperor's games are no longer a distant threat, they're breathing down your neck. Today you earn your place, the Lanista snarls, his voice dripping with contempt. Or you die trying. You're handed your Murmillo gear, dented helmet, cracked armor, heavy shield, and a sword with a notched blade. The leather straps dig into your bruised skin, the helmet's grime rubbing your scalp raw. You feel like a sacrifice, dressed for the altar, and the thought makes your hands shake. Today's training is a nightmare, a relentless crucible designed to break you. You're not just sparring. You're thrown into a series of trials, each more grueling than the last. First is a mock battle, 2 against 2, with real steel. You're paired with Gaius, facing Lucius and the new guy. The Lannista's rules are simple. Fight until one side yields, no mercy, no retreat. The yard's marked with a chalk circle, a crude arena, and the enforcers form a jeering crowd, their shouts blending with the wolf's distant snarls. Gaius is a rock, his sica slashing with deadly precision. You follow his lead, your shield raised, your sword striking where he directs. Lucius is fast, his gladius a blur, but the new guy's a liability, his trident flailing, his net tangling his own feet. You catch Lucius's arm with a grazing cut, and Gaius lands a solid hit on the new guy, sending him sprawling. They yield, panting, and the Lanista scowl says he wanted more blood. Pathetic, he spits, but you're alive, and that's enough for now. The next trial is a race through an obstacle course, climbing walls, crawling under nets, dodging spears thrown by Quintus's men. Your legs burn, your lungs scream, and a spear grazes your thigh, drawing a thin line of blood. You stumble but keep going, driven by the whip's crack and the Lanista shouts. Gaius is ahead, his strength carrying him through, but the new guy's struggling, his face a mask of panic. Lucius pulls him up, muttering, "Don't make me regret this." You finish, gasping, your body a wreck, and collapse in the sand, your vision swimming. The final trial is the worst, a staged fight against a beast. The straw lion from yesterday is back, manned by enforcers who wield it with savage glee. You're given a spear and told to kill it. The wolf snarls a grim soundtrack. The crowd's louder now, Quintus betting openly on who'll fall. You thrust, your spear piercing the straw, but a wooden claw catches your shoulder, reopening yesterday's bruise. The pain's blinding, but you stab again, tearing the lion apart. The Lanista grunts unimpressed, and you limp away, your spear slick with sweat and straw. By midday you're broken, your body a tapestry of pain. The Lanista calls a break, and you collapse in the shade, your armor heavy with dust and blood. Titus brings water, his hand steady as he pours you a ladle. "You're still standing," he says, his voice a quiet anchor. You nod, too exhausted to speak, and gulp the warm, clay-tasting water. Lucius is sprawled nearby, panting. "Think we'll get a parade after this," he jokes, but his eyes are dark. Gaius is silent, sharpening his sica, his focus a wall you can't breach. The new guy's off by himself, staring at the wolf's cage, and you wonder if he's already lost. The afternoon's a blur of more drills, sparring, running, lifting stones until your arms feel like lead. The Lanista's pushing you to the edge, his shouts laced with urgency. The games are coming, and you're starting to feel the weight of Rome's hunger. The Colosseum's not just an arena. It's a beast, fed by blood and screams, and you're its next meal. You wonder what you'll face, another gladiator, a lion, or something worse. The thought makes your chest tight, your breath shallow. As evening falls, you're herded back to the barracks, your body begging for rest. Dinner's a thin gruel, mostly water with a few scraps of cabbage. You eat in silence, the day's trials heavy on your shoulders. Titus is nearby, mending a torn cloak, his humming a soft lifeline. You want to talk to him, to ask how he keeps his soul intact. But the barracks is no place for that. Gaius is praying, his amulet clutched tight. Lucius is quiet, his jokes buried under the day's weight. The new guy's muttering again, his voice a low, broken chant. And you wonder if he's praying or cursing. The torches burn low, casting shadows that twist like specters. You lie on your mat, the straw poking through your tunic, and try to shut out the world. The wolf's snarl echoes in your head, mingling with the Lanista shouts and the enforcer's jeers. You think about the Colosseum, its sand waiting to drink your blood, and wonder if you'll ever be ready. The thought makes your fists clench, your nails biting into your palms. Titus's humming pulls you back, a soft thread in the dark. He's sweeping, his broom scraping the dirt, and you watch him, marveling at his calm. He's a slave, yet he's stronger than you, unbroken by this place. You want to ask a secret, but you're too tired, too lost. Instead, you close your eyes, letting his tune carry you toward something like peace. The night's long, Rome's chaos a distant hum, but you're alive, for now. The barracks is a suffocating cage, the air thick with with the stench of sweat, blood, and the faint mildew of rotting straw. You're sprawled on your mat, the coarse blanket a pitiful barrier against the pre-dawn chill that seeps into your bones. Your body's a wreck, your arm throbbing from old cuts, your shoulder screaming from the straw lion's blow, your legs heavy from the Lanista's endless drills. Sleep's a cruel joke, slipping away every time you close your eyes, replaced by flashes of steel, snarling beasts, and the Colosseum's looming shadow. You're a gladiator, and every heartbeat is a reminder that you're one step closer to the arena, where the sand waits to drink your blood. A soft rustle breaks the silence, someone shifting, or maybe a rat scuttling across the dirt floor. You glance around, your eyes adjusting to the dim torchlight. Gaius is a dark bulk, his breathing steady, but his hands still gripping his stone amulet, even in sleep. Lucius is sprawled, his snores faint, his usual swagger dulled by exhaustion. The new guy, still a stranger without a name, is curled up, his bandaged arm tucked close, his face etched with quiet despair. Titus is there too, a shadow moving with purpose, stacking bowls for the morning meal. His humming, soft and relentless, cuts through the gloom, and you wonder how he carries such calm when the rest of you are fraying at the seams. The Lanista's whistle tears through the darkness, a sound that's become your personal tormentor. Up, you lazy curs. Quintus's voice follows, his whip cracking like a warning shot. You lurch to your feet, your muscles screaming, your head pounding with fatigue. The barrack stirs, grunts, curses, the shuffle of feet on dirt. You pull on your tattered tunic, the fabric stiff with grime and sweat, and stumble outside. The sky is a dull gray, the air sharp with the bite of early morning. Titus is at the trough, hauling water, his thin frame bent but unbowed. He catches your eye and nods, that quiet gesture of flicker of warmth in the cold. You splash water on your face, the icy shock jarring you awake. It's gritty, tasting of rust and clay, and it stings the cuts on your hands. The others are splashing too, their voices low and bitter. Lucius nudges you, his grin half-hearted. Ready to impress the Emperor today, hero? You grunt, too drained for his banter, but his words linger. The Emperor, the games. They're not just threats anymore. They're a storm on the horizon, and you're caught in its path. Breakfast is the same grim ritual, pulse, gray and gluey, slopped into your bowl by the cook's gnarled hands. You squat in the dirt, forcing it down, the barley sticking in your throat like wet sand. Gaius eats mechanically, his eyes fixed on some distant point, like he's already facing the arena. The new guy's barely touching his hands trembling, his face pale as death. You want to say something, to offer a shred of strength, but what's the use? You're all trapped in the same nightmare. Titus passes by, carrying a sack of flour, and slips you a small, hard pear. For luck, he whispers, his eyes flicking to Quintus. You hide it in your tunic, the gesture a spark of hope in the dark. The training yard's waiting, the sand already warm under the rising sun. The Lanista's there, his face a mask of contempt, and the cart of weapons is back, its steel glinting with menace. Your stomach twists. The games are close, so close you can almost hear the Colosseum's roar. Today, you prove you're worth the sand you'll die on, the Lanista snarls, pacing like a predator. You're handed your Murmillo gear, dented helmet, cracked armor, heavy shield, and a sword with a chipped edge. The leather straps dig into your bruised skin, the helmet's grime rubbing your scalp raw. You feel like a beast being readied for slaughter, and the thought makes your hands shake. Today's training is a brutal spectacle, a dress rehearsal for the games. You're not just sparring. You're thrown into a series of staged fights, each designed to mimic the arena's chaos. First is a one-on-one duel, and you're pitted against the new guy, his trident and net marking him as a reedy Arius. He's faster now, his movements sharper, but his eyes are wild with fear. The Lanista's rules are clear. Fight until one yields, no mercy, no retreat. The yard's marked with a chalk circle, a crude arena, and the enforcers form a jeering crowd, their shouts blending with the wolf's distant snarls. The new guy strikes first, his trident jabbing low. You raise your shield, the impact rattling your arm, and counter with a thrust. He dodges, his net swinging, and you feel the coarse rope graze your leg. The crowd roars, Quintus's voice cutting through. Blood you worms. You lunge, your sword catching his arm, drawing a thin line of red. He hisses, stumbling, but doesn't stop, his trident arcing toward your chest. You block, your shield splintering, and slam into him, knocking him to the sand. Your sword's at his throat, and his eyes meet yours, pleading. Yield, you growl, your voice hoarse. He nods, gasping, and you step back, your chest heaving. The Lanista scowl says he wanted a corpse, but you're alive, and so is he for now. The next trial is a group fight 4 against 4, with real steel and no rules. You're teamed with Gaius, Lucius, and a grizzled gladiator named Marcus, who's been here longer than anyone. Your opponents are a mix of veterans and new blood, their eyes hard with desperation. The fight's a blur of steel and sand, Gaius's Sicca slashing, Lucius's gladius darting, Marcus's spear thrusting. You hold your ground, your shield taking hit after hit, your sword finding flesh more than once. Blood stains the sand and someone falls, but you don't look. You keep fighting, your breath ragged, until the Lanista calls a halt. Your team standing, but Marcus is bleeding, and Lucius is limping. Adequate, the Lanista grunts, but his eyes say you're still expendable. The afternoon brings a new horror, a mock execution. The Lanista's brought in a prisoner, a gaunt man with hollow eyes, and you're told to perform for the enforcers. It's not a real killing, not yet, but you're forced to drag him across the yard, your sword at his back, while Quintus and his men cheer. The prisoner's trembling, his voice a broken whisper. Please, I have a son. You want to look away, to refuse, but the Lanista's watching, and disobedience means death. You shove the man to his knees, your sword raised, and hesitate. The Lanista's shout cuts through. Do it. You swing, stopping short, the blade grazing his neck. The prisoner collapses, sobbing, and you're pulled away, your stomach churning. The enforcers laugh, but you feel like you've lost something you'll never get back. By evening, you're a shell, your body screaming, your mind numb. The Lanista calls a halt, and you're given a cup of sour wine and a scrap of dried fish that tastes like salt and regret. You limp back to the barracks, your armor heavy with sweat and guilt. Titus is there, mending a torn sandal, his humming a faint lifeline. You want to talk to him, to ask how he keeps going when the world's so cruel. But the barracks is no place for that. Gaius is praying, his amulet clutched tight. Lucius is silent, his joke's gone. The new guy's muttering, his voice a low, broken chant, and you wonder if he's cursing you or himself. The barracks is quieter tonight, the weight of the game's crushing everyone. You lie on your mat, the straw poking through your tunic, and try to shut out the world. The prisoner's plea echoes in your head, mingling with the Lanista shouts and the enforcer's laughter. You think about the Colosseum. It's sand waiting to swallow you whole, and wonder if you'll ever be anything but a tool for Rome's amusement. The thought makes your chest tight, your breath shallow. Titus's humming pulls you back, a soft thread in the dark. He's sweeping, his broom scraping the dirt, and you watch him, marveling at his calm. He's a slave, yet he's stronger than you, unbroken by this place. You want to ask his secret, but you're too tired, too lost. Instead, you close your eyes, letting his tune carry you toward something like peace. The night's long, Rome's chaos a distant hum, but you're alive, for now. The barracks is a suffocating pit, the air heavy with the reek of sweat, blood, and the sour tang of fear that clings to every surface. You're slumped on your straw mat, the thin blanket doing little to ward off the pre-dawn chill that gnaws at your bones. Your body's a wreck, cut stinging, bruises throbbing. Your mind haunted by the prisoner's trembling plea and the weight of the sword you nearly swung. Sleep's a ghost, slipping away every time you close your eyes, leaving you with flashes of steel, snarling wolves, and the Colosseum's hungry roar. You're a gladiator, and every moment you're not bleeding, you're bracing for the next cut. Your life a fragile thread stretched taut over Rome's cruel stage. A low cough breaks the silence, someone sick, or maybe just choking on despair. You shift, wincing as your battered shoulder protests, and glance around the dim barracks. Gaius is a hulking shadow, his stone amulet clutched tight, his breathing uneven like he's fighting battles in his sleep. Lucius is sprawled, his snores faint, his usual bravado buried under the day's brutality. The new guy, still nameless, is curled up, his bandaged arm tucked close, his face a mask of silent torment. Titus is there too, a faint outline in the torchlight, stacking firewood with that unshakable calm. His humming, soft and steady, weaves through the darkness, and you cling to it, a lifeline in this hellhole. The Lanista's whistle rips through the quiet, a sound that's become your personal tormentor. Up, you filthy dogs. Quintus's voice follows, his whip cracking like a gunshot. You lurch to your feet, your muscles screaming, your head pounding with exhaustion. The barrack stirs, grunts, curses, the shuffle of feet on dirt. You pull on your tattered tunic, the fabric stiff with grime and blood, and stumble outside. The sky's a dull gray, the air sharp with the bite of early morning. Titus is at the trough, hauling water, his thin frame bent but unyielding. He catches your eye and nods, that quiet gesture a flicker of warmth in the cold. You splash water on your face, the icy shock jarring you awake. It's gritty, tasting of rust and clay, and it stings the cuts on your hands. The others are splashing too, their voices low and bitter. Lucius nudges you, his grin half-hearted. Ready to dance for the Emperor's dogs today, friend? You grunt, too drained for his jabs, but his words stick. The Emperor. The games. They're not just coming. They're here, and you're caught in their jaws. Breakfast is the same grim ritual, pulse, gray and gluey, slopped into your bowl by the cook's gnarled hands. You squat in the dirt, forcing it down, the barley sticking in your throat like wet sand. Gaius eats mechanically, his eyes fixed on some distant point, like he's already facing the arena. The new guy's barely touching his hands trembling, his face pale as death. You want to say something, to offer a shred of strength, but what's the use? You're all drowning in the same sea. Titus passes by, carrying a basket of bread, and slips you a small, bruised figure. For strength, he whispers, his eyes flicking to Quintus. You hide it in your tunic, the gesture a spark of hope in the dark. The training yard's waiting, the sand already warm under the rising sun. The Lanista's there, his face a storm cloud, and the cart of weapons is back, its steel glinting with menace. Your stomach twists. The games are so close you can feel the Colosseum's breath on your neck. Today, you fight for your lives, the Lanista snarls, pacing like a predator. You're handed your Murmillo gear, dented helmet, cracked armor, heavy shield, and a sword with a chipped edge. The leather straps dig into your bruised skin, the helmet's grime rubbing your scalp raw. You feel like a sacrifice, dressed for the altar, and the thought makes your hands shake. Today's training is a brutal climax, a final test before the games. You're not just sparring, you're thrown into a mock arena, a full-scale rehearsal for the Colosseum's blood-soaked stage. The yard's been transformed, with wooden stands for a small crowd of the Lanista's patrons, wealthy Romans in fine tunics, their faces flushed with wine and excitement. They're here to pick their favorites, to bet on who'll survive the games, and you feel their eyes on you, sizing you up like livestock. The Lanista's rules are simple. Fight like it's the arena, no yielding, no mercy. The wolf's cage is nearby, it snarls a grim soundtrack, and you wonder if it's here to watch or to join. You're pitted against Marcus, the grizzled veteran, his spear and shield marking him as a hoplomachus. He's older, scarred and deadly, his eyes cold with the weight of too many fights. The chalk circles your arena, The enforcers and patrons your crowd. Marcus moves first, his spear thrusting low. You raise your shield, the impact jarring your arm, and counter with a slash. He dodges, his shield slamming into your side, knocking the breath from you. The crowd roars, a patron shouting, "Kill him." You grit your teeth, pushing back, your sword arcing toward his chest. He blocks, his spear grazing your thigh, a shallow cut that burns like fire. The fight's a blur, steel clashing, sand flying, your breath ragged. You land a hit, your sword nicking his arm, and he stumbles, but he's back in seconds. His spear aimed at your heart. You dive, rolling in the sand, and come up swinging, your shield splintering under his next blow. The Lanista's shout cuts through. Finish it. You charge, slamming Marcus to the ground, your sword at his throat. He yields, his eyes meeting yours, a flicker of respect in their depths. The crowd cheers, but you feel no victory, only relief that you're still breathing. The next fight's a group battle, you with Gaius and Lucius against 3 other gladiators. The Lanista's men add chaos, throwing nets and blunt spears to mimic the arena surprises. Gaius is a wall, his sickle slashing with deadly precision. Lucius is fast as Gladius darting, but one of your opponents catches him with a net, dragging him down. You and Gaius fight on, your shield taking hit after hit, your sword finding flesh. Blood stains the sand, and one opponent falls, his leg broken. You free Lucius, and the 3 of you finish the fight, panting and bloodied but standing. The Lanista scowl says he wanted more carnage, but the patrons are clapping, their gold chains glinting in the sun. The final trial is a beast simulation, the straw lion back with a vengeance. You're armed with a spear, your body screaming as you face it. The enforcers wield it like a living thing, its wooden claws swinging, its roar a mocking chant. You thrust, your spear piercing the straw, but a claw catches your shoulder, reopening your bruise. The pain's blinding, but you stab again, tearing the lion apart. The wolf's snarls grow louder, and you feel its eyes on you, promising a real fight soon. The Lanista grunts unimpressed, and you limp away, your spear slick with sweat and straw. By evening, you're a husk, your body a tapestry of pain. The Lanista calls a halt, and you're given a cup of sour wine and a scrap of dried fish that tastes like regret. You limp back to the barracks, your armor heavy with sweat and guilt. Titus is there, mending a torn cloak, his humming a faint lifeline. You want to talk to him, to ask how he keeps his soul intact, but the barracks is no place for that. Gaius is praying, his amulet clutched tight. Lucius is silent, his jokes gone. The new guy's muttering, his voice a low, broken chant, and you wonder if he's cursing you or himself. The barracks is quieter tonight, the weight of the game's crushing everyone. You lie on your mat, the straw poking through your tunic, and try to shut out the world. The patrons' cheers echo in your head, mingling with the Lanista shouts and the wolf snarls. You think about the Colosseum, its sand waiting to swallow you whole, and wonder if you'll ever be anything but a tool for Rome's amusement. The thought makes your chest tight, your breath shallow. Titus's humming pulls you back, a soft thread in the dark. He's sweeping, his broom scraping the dirt, and you watch him, marveling at his calm. He's a slave, yet he's stronger than you, unbroken by this place. You want to ask a secret, but you're too tired, too lost. Instead, you close your eyes, letting his tune carry you toward something like peace. The night's long, Rome's chaos a distant hum, but you're alive, for now. The barracks is a suffocating abyss, the air thick with the stench of sweat, blood, and the bitter rot of despair that clings to every corner. You're sprawled on your straw mat, the threadbare blanket a flimsy shield against the bone-deep chill of the Roman night. Your body's a ruin, cut stinging, bruises pulsing, your shoulder screaming from the straw lion's blow, your mind frayed by the patron's cheers and the prisoner's trembling plea. Sleep's a cruel phantom, slipping away every time you close your eyes, leaving you with flashes of steel, snarling beasts, and the Colosseum's ravenous roar. You're a gladiator, and every breath is a stolen moment, a fragile defiance against the arena's inevitable claim. A low rustle cuts through the silence, someone shifting, or maybe a rat skittering across the dirt floor. You glance around, your eyes straining in the dim torchlight. Gaius is a hulking shadow, his stone amulet clutched tight, his breathing uneven like he's wrestling demons in his sleep. Lucius is sprawled, his snores faint, his usual swagger buried under the weight of the games. The new guy, still nameless, is curled up, his bandaged arm tucked close, his face a mask of silent anguish. Titus is there too, a faint outline moving with purpose, stacking bowls for the morning meal. His humming, soft and relentless, weaves through the darkness, and you cling to it, a lifeline in this hell where hope is a rare and precious thing. The Lanista's whistle rips through the quiet, a sound that's become your personal tormentor. Up, you worthless curs. Quintus's voice follows, his whip cracking like a thunderclap. You lurch to your feet, your muscles screaming, your head pounding with exhaustion. The barrack stirs, grunts, curses, the shuffle of feet on dirt. You pull on your tattered tunic, the fabric stiff with grime and blood, and stumble outside. The sky is a dull gray, the air sharp with the bite of early morning. Titus is at the trough, hauling water, his thin frame bent but unyielding. He catches your eye and nods, that quiet gesture a flicker of warmth in the cold, a reminder that you're not entirely alone. You splash water on your face, the icy shock jarring you awake. It's gritty, tasting of rust and clay, and it stings the cuts on your hands. The others are splashing too, their voices low and bitter. Lucius nudges you, his grin half-hearted. Ready to face the gods today, friend? You grunt, too drained for his jabs, but his words stick. The gods, the Colosseum, the games. They're not just close. They're here, and you're standing on the edge of their jaws, staring into the abyss. Breakfast is the same grim ritual, pulse, gray and gluey, slopped into your bowl by the cook's calloused hands. You squat in the dirt, forcing it down, the barley sticking in your throat like wet sand. Gaius eats mechanically, his eyes fixed on some distant point, like he's already fighting the battles to come. The new guy's barely touching his hands trembling, his face pale as death. You want to say something, to offer a shred of strength, but what's the use? You're all trapped in the same nightmare, and words won't change the sand or the steel. Titus passes by, carrying a basket of bread, and slips you a small, bruised apple. For courage, he whispers, his eyes flicking to Quintus. You hide it in your tunic, the gesture a spark of hope in the dark, a reminder that even in this place, kindness can survive. The training yard's waiting, the sand already warm under the rising sun. The Lanist is there, his face a mask of contempt, and the cart of weapons is back, its steel glinting with menace. Your stomach twists. The Emperor's games are no longer a shadow. They're a storm breaking over you. Today, you fight for your place in the Colosseum. The Lanista snarls, pacing like a predator. You're handed your Murmillo gear, dented helmet, cracked armor, heavy shield, and a sword with a chipped edge. The leather straps dig into your bruised skin, the helmet's grime rubbing your scalp raw. You feel like a beast being readied for slaughter, and the thought makes your hands shake. Today's training is the final crucible, a brutal gauntlet to weed out the weak before the games. You're not just sparring. You're thrown into a mock spectacle, a full-scale rehearsal for the Colosseum's blood-soaked stage. The yard's been transformed, with wooden stands for a larger crowd of patrons. Wealthy Romans in fine tunics, their faces flushed with wine and greed, here to bet on who'll survive. The Lanista's men have added props, cages with snarling wolves, straw beasts, even a crude chariot to mimic the arena's chaos. The wolf from the yard is here, its yellow eyes locked on you, and you feel its hunger like a blade at your throat. You're pitted against Gaius, his Thracian Sicca, a wicked curve of steel. The Lanista's rules are brutal. Fight like it's the arena, no yielding, no mercy, only victory or death. The chalk circles your stage, the patrons and enforcers your crowd, their shouts blending with the wolf snarls. Gaius moves like a storm, his sicca slashing high. You raise your shield, the impact jarring your arm, and counter with a thrust. He dodges, his shield slamming into your chest, knocking the breath from you. The crowd roars, a patron shouting, "Blood for the Emperor." You grit your teeth, pushing back, your sword arcing toward his side. He blocks, his sicca grazing your arm, a shallow cut that burns like fire. The fight's a blur, steel clashing, sand flying, your breath ragged. You land a hit, your sword nicking his shoulder, and he stumbles, but he's back in seconds, his sicca aimed at your heart. You dive, rolling in the sand, and come up swinging, your shield splintering under his next blow. The Lanista's shout cuts through. Finish it. You charge, slamming Gaius to the ground, your sword at his throat. He yields, his eyes meeting yours, a flicker of respect in their depths. The crowd cheers, but you feel no triumph, only the weight of survival. The next trial is a chaotic melee, you with Lucius, and the new guy against 5 other gladiators. The Lanista's men add terror, releasing a wolf into the circle, its chain just long enough to reach you. The beast lunges, its teeth gleaming, and you dodge, your spear trembling in your hands. Lucius is fast, his gladius darting, but the new guy's a liability, his trident flailing, his net tangling his feet. You fight back to back with Lucius, your shield taking hit after hit, your sword finding flesh. The wolf snaps at your leg, its breath hot, and you stab blindly, driving it back. Blood stains the sand, and 2 opponents fall, their screams drowned by the crowd's roar. You free the new guy, and the 3 of you finish the fight, panting and bloodied but standing. The Lanista scowl says he wanted more death, but the patrons are clapping, their gold chains glinting in the sun. The final trial is a staged execution, a grim echo of yesterday. You're handed a blunt sword and told to drag a straw prisoner across the yard, the crowd chanting for blood. You hesitate, the memory of the real prisoner's plea burning in your mind. But Quintus's whip cracks, and you move, your heart heavy. The axe a mockery, but it feels real, the weight of a sword a reminder of what's coming. The Lanista grunts, unimpressed, and you limp away, your soul bruised as much as your body. By evening, you're a husk, your body a tapestry of pain. The Lanista calls a halt, and you're given a cup of sour wine and a scrap of dried fish that tastes like regret. You limp back to the barracks, your armor heavy with sweat and guilt. Titus is there, mending a torn sandal, his humming a faint lifeline. You want to talk to him, to ask how he keeps his soul intact, but the barracks is no place for that. Gaius is praying, his amulet clutched tight. Lucius is silent, his jokes gone. The new guy's muttering, his voice a low, broken chant, and you wonder if he's cursing you or himself. The barracks is quieter tonight, the weight of the games crushing everyone. You lie on your mat, the straw poking through your tunic, and try to shut out the world. The wolf's snarl echoes in your head, mingling with the patrons' cheers and the Lanista shouts. You think about the Colosseum, its sand waiting to swallow you whole, and wonder if you'll ever be anything but a tool for Rome's amusement. The thought makes your chest tight, your breath shallow. Titus's humming pulls you back, a soft thread in the dark. He's sweeping, his broom scraping the dirt, and you watch him, marveling at his calm. He's a slave, yet he's stronger than you, unbroken by this place. You want to ask his secret, but you're too tired, too lost. Instead, you close your eyes, letting his tune carry you toward something like peace. The night's long, Rome's chaos a distant hum, but you're alive, for now. So, you've walked the gladiator's path, felt the sand under your feet, the steel in your hand, the crowd's hunger in your bones. Think you could face the Colosseum, knowing every fight could be your last? Or are you already dreaming of your safe little world, where the worst battle is a bad day? As you drift off tonight, wrapped in your cozy blanket, remember this. The arena's still out there, its shadow long and dark, and it's waiting for its next victim. Sleep tight, friend, and dream of softer sands, because the real ones are soaked in blood. Good night.